So if I have a sofa set up like this, and I want to shade it from out in front, I'm not seeing any shadows in the back, right? So it's not going to be interesting to me. Sometimes people invent shadows because they want to show off their stuff, basically, right? So shadow could be mapped out from a specific point. If I had a light out here in the room, I might want to map from a specific point, but I might put a lamp back in here, let's say, on a table. And light the sofa from this end just to get some shadows out here to show the nature of that, right? Because light reveals form. So should I light it from this direction or should I light it from this direction? I've already done one from that direction, so let's do one from this direction, shall we? I'm going to start with my 50% this time because I feel like my 30 is a little bit too weak. Also, the sooner you get to a full value range in your drawing, the sooner you're going to see what needs to happen with it. So if you start with the really light markers and you keep going, 10% or 30% or that kind of thing, it's going to be that you always stay in the light areas and you don't ever get to the darks, right? So if I start with my darkest dark and I say, all right, I'm going to go 90 underneath that sofa and underneath this ottoman, then I've already got a really high contrast so I can kind of see the black and white in there that I already want to work with. I'm going to take my 50 and I'm going to roll this away from the light here and here at the end and here at the end of this. This wants to roll away from the light there. It's going to cast a shadow down here. Should I shade the front of this? I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that with a 10 or a 30 or something, all right? So I'm going to go 50 here. I'm going to go 30 in my shadows. And project those shadows out this direction a little bit and onto the wall. It's going to come down to the floor and then out away from the vanishing point left a little bit. This is a 2-point. But you can see if I have two planes in the light, there's not as much to shade and there's not as much interest going on in terms of the shadow. So I've got my 50 here now. Is this 50? I want to fill in underneath the sofa to kind of pop that up. I want to get this going down to the floor to kind of pop that. I think I'm going to take my 50 and sort of enhance those tufts just a little bit. Want some reflected light on the side of that arm. Then I'm going to take my 10% and I'm going to say that the light's facing down from above. So the top of the sofa I want to be lighter. So I'm going to take across the front of the sofa and I'm going to put a 10%. I'm going to come in the front of this sofa and put a 10%. The front of this ottoman, I'm going to put a 10%. So now I've got a subtle line between what's facing up and what's facing forward. If I draw it in and it's too subtle, like this is a little bit too, it's coming out pretty good in the camera actually, but on my paper it looks too light. So then I'm going to bump it down. I'm going to go 30 on this plane and this plane and this plane. And that's going to force me to go 70 in my shadow core, right? Because I need to have 2 jumps between that and the turn into the darkness over here. and then 50 on the sides. So I kind of went heavier with my shadow there because I wanted a little bit more pop. Whenever somebody says pop, they're talking about contrast, right? Contrast of value is really important if I want someone to be able to read this drawing from a distance. And I do want that. I want to be able to make a presentation in a boardroom, right? I very often go in at the end of a drawing and do a little bit of re-inking and redrawing to help me feel better about what it is I made.